Rutherford County.
Good evening. Would like to call the Rutherford County School Board meeting, work session to order, June 13th, 2022. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Monica Ridley.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Ridley. I'd like to invite everybody to join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, members of the board, the first item is approval of the agenda. Any questions on the existing agenda? If not, any questions on the consent agenda? Okay, no questions on the consent agenda. Well, I think maybe it might be necessary to note that Dr. Sullivan is serving this evening at the appointment of Director Spurlock, who is out. So thank you, Dr. Sullivan, for serving in this capacity. Do you have any information, any questions or comments we need to know on the consent agenda, Dr. Sullivan?
Yeah, the only thing I would note is if you look at page 10 and 11, really starts on page 9. So we have non-faculty volunteer coaches for the 22-23 school year. And then if you will note on page 11, those are actually some names that were approved for the 22-23 school year, but were actually for the 21-22 school year as well. And so we have sports, of course, that started January that moved through various seasons, so we have duplicates on some of those, but that's appropriate.
Thank you. So just a clearing up there.
Yes.
Okay, appreciate that. Any questions, members of the board? Okay, we'll do our visitors on Thursday night. Evaluation instrument. Dr. Sullivan, go ahead.
I believe you guys were given or emailed a document for the evaluation of director of schools. With me moving into this role, I believe that Tammy Grissom asked that we look at that and have that on the agenda for any modifications you all would like to have, and so that we can have that conversation and move forward. Yep.
What was that?
Are any that you want to modify?
Yeah, or anything that I would like as well. So, yep.
So any questions, members of the board? Any comments? Has everybody had an opportunity to review the evaluation? We are talking about the new instrument that we just adopted in the last year. So I would encourage members of the board to review it before the next meeting. If you have any questions and we need to make changes, maybe we'll work through Mr. Reed to get that done. So make your recommendations to Mr. Reed. Okay. Next item.
All right, human resources, and this is on tab 3. A service agreement between Rutherford County Schools and Proximity Learning. This is a 22-23 pilot program at Laverne High and Laverne Middle School, utilizing 100% live instruction through Proximity Learning for hard-to-fill teaching positions. Proximity Learning, which is owned by our ESS substitute vendor, provides a virtual teaching option with live instruction daily. Laverne High will receive the following teachers: 3 math, 3 English, 2 English as a second language, and 1 Spanish. Laverne Middle will receive the following teachers: 2 math, 1 English as a second language. The contract of $766,798.92 covers this service for a 1-year term. The phone support fee in this contract has been waived, and this is in the contracted services portion of our 22-23 school year.
Thank you. Questions, comments, members of the board?
This is something we're looking at doing short term, not a long-term solution.
Correct. This is something we have met with the principals of both schools. Dr. Anthony and I have met several times with the vendor. This is not something that we necessarily want to do, but we are looking at it from a aspect of, I believe we still have over 140 jobs that are posted for certified positions. We need to look at ways that we can make sure that our classrooms have a certified teacher that is available for them to have instruction, because we feel like any type of certified teacher would be better than that avenue of just putting alternating EAs every single day like we've done over the last couple years. We also have another option we'll be bringing to you at the July board meeting, to where we would be able to hopefully offer teachers that extended contract to serve during their planning period, if you will, but then they would be able to have their planning period that's dedicated by law at the end of the school day. We are also working with Budget and Finance to make sure that we have all of the stipulations that are needed for this vendor, and that very well could not occur, so this may get pulled by Thursday as well, because it may not be an option with several things that we need to make sure they have lined up. They're working with several other districts, Wilson, Clarksville, Montgomery, Jackson, and Memphis Shelby over the last 6 months. They have told us that if we don't have a contract with them soon, then they won't be able to support us because they are filling these positions nationally. So again, not something that we necessarily love, and I'll be happy to answer questions about it. I know that as of today, Laverne High School has 23 and a half teaching positions open, and then Laverne Middle School has 6 or 7. I'd have to verify exactly with the number he told me about an hour ago.
I know why you went this way, and I understand, but I really hope we don't have to do this. This is not ideal at all.
Agree completely.
One of our
Yep.
deserves to have a teacher in the classroom, and I hate it. I'm just going to go on record. I hate it.
Dr. Sullivan?
Go ahead.
Dr. Sullivan, do we have any money from ESSER funds to retain and replace that we can start giving a stipend, a signing bonus or something to try to fill those hard-to-place positions on the north end, sort of like we did the...
We do, and those are always things that we can bring before the board to look at. It is, all of our schools are having a hard time. It's a national trend that we are seeing with filling positions, that there's a teacher shortage. One thing I do believe, and I mentioned this during the interview portion, is I believe we have a lot of individuals who either have teaching licenses or will be eligible for a teaching license, and we, as a district and really just as a community, have to make teaching an enticing and respectable profession so that those with the degree or the ability would want to be in our classrooms. And so that comes with unification of us, but unification of our community as well. But that is something I will get with Mr. Goyen and Mr. Bodary and see, to give you an update about ESSER funds, what we have available, because recruit and retain was a section of that.
Yes.
How hopeful are you about the upcoming job fair?
So
Fill some of these positions.
we had a job fair, about a week and a half ago, had fewer than 2 or 3 dozen applicants.
Mainly in the elementary and ESL area.
So currently, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
How many teachers are coming out of like MTSU now? I mean, do they have a number of how many? Do we know, or?
It's a very small. Each year it declines by half. The next year's group will be half of this year's group. So a lot of them will go into it, but realize that it's not the field that they originally thought it was for them. So some will go into substituting instead of going immediately into teaching, which gives us another option to bring them in that way. But the numbers are going down drastically. You're looking at a 50% decline each year, and nationally you're looking at anywhere from a 45 to 55% decline.
And Mr. Holden, MTSU this spring had 155 graduates. And just to give you an example, there was 1 chemistry, 1 biology, a few English. We have 5 English graduates, 3 total math graduates. And so it's very few and far between. We fill that out of growth positions, let alone outside of actual teachers leaving.
I hate to say this, but I can remember the day when it was a very, very lucrative group coming every year, and there was plenty of teachers to be found.
One of them that always stands out to me is for physical education, we have 8 physical education graduates and 1 art graduate. And so that's our biggest state university.
Dr. Sullivan, on this item, if we do enter into a contract, and you and I have had a conversation about this, that I'm not there yet. I don't know that I can support this item. However, if we enter into a contract, do we, and it sounds like it's time sensitive, do we have to, does that obligate us to utilize this service? Or can we sign a contract and still explore other options?
Dr. Andy, do you remember, is it up until the 3rd week of July that we have to have the teacher positions finalized? Is that correct?
That is correct. And if it's sped position, it has to be a year-long commitment. Other than that, it's until we can fill that position.
Thank you.
And the other part of this, because a huge concern for us is to make sure that we have a classroom. You can have a live teacher virtually, but unless you have the classroom supervised, and that doesn't do you any good. And so we would use ESS actually places a facilitator in the classroom, a classified facilitator that they hire through their subsystem, and it is supposed to be the same person every single day. If their live teacher is absent, that they have a sub pool as well that fills into that. But that would have, if this were a direction we had to go down, there's a lot of communication that has to go involved with our parents, with our community. Laverne just happens to be one of the areas that is the most needed right now. Rockville High School, though, they have 11 teaching positions open as well, so it really doesn't matter your area of the county. Buchanan Elementary has a 5th grade position that they've had a hard time filling, and those are your more rural schools, and so it's district-wide.
So how, do we have a system in place? I know we measure teachers now, but it's probably more on a yearly basis than so. Do we have any way of measuring these folks and seeing effectiveness?
Yeah, we have, as far as this vendor or our own
This
teachers?
vendor, I know we do our teachers, but
Yeah,
this,
they would have the same type of test scores that we would be waiting on. Unfortunately, they aren't huge in Tennessee yet. They started working with them last year, so we don't necessarily have their effectiveness data from how they performed for the spring of 2022 yet.
oh, okay. Thank you.
How optimistic are you that we can get some waivers and get some people who maybe don't have the identical blueprint to teach math or English, but they do have a degree in something else? How
So that
hopeful
is,
are you that we can transition them to something?
yeah, that is something that we're looking at. There's a 60-page that Dr. Anthony and our HR department sent me today. I feel like there are definitely some avenues that we can explore to try to get teachers, that people that may have degrees that, in the past, we didn't want to do waivers, we didn't want to do permits. We're past that to this point. If we have somebody who's willing to serve in our classroom, and we can get a certification, that we need to make sure we're doing that. I feel confident we'll be able to get some. Where we struggle is EOC and tested areas. The state doesn't allow permits or waivers for those areas. And we have so many math and English positions, unfortunately, that's a struggle.
That's what Laverne is facing, that those positions that they have are in tested areas.
Did we look at paying more at that end of the county?
We haven't yet. It's something we can look at
You
proposing.
kind of tossed it around a bit, okay.
I know other counties do. Hamilton's the one that comes to mind the most. They have their school districts in cores, is what they call them, and they pay their different cores based on what their needs are at that time. So a group may get a 5% more, and that goes all the way from classified staff to the principal to serve in those areas.
Okay.
I appreciate the work that's been done on this. And I know it's a difficult ask, this item. It is the worst-case scenario, in my opinion. I would like to see us explore every single potential option. And I know you are, and you have, and we're on a time crunch, but this is very hard to get behind, being honest.
Agree completely.
Any other questions? Ms. Sharp?
One, just quickly. Do we have a database of teachers that have left in the last 5 years that we could reach out to and say?
We do, and we've done that and emailed, even with the ability for retirees to come back and get 70% of their retirement. We've done that as well. So, and we'll continue to do that with openings. Again,
You
I think
didn't
that goes.
send me anything.
Yeah, that goes back to, we have to make it lucrative for our community and district, for everyone to see that we're a united group so that it's an attractive place to be from.
Thank you. Mr. Bolton, you have a question?
Well, I'm just thinking, we're evaluating this charter school situation, that they have to have teachers from somewhere. So if they're dealing with the same issues we are, I just don't know how that will work out, but I guess we'll see.
They are, and they're recruiting from the same pool that we are.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments on this item? If there are none, next item.
All right, number 9, approval of the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act, so the Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant. The Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act of 2018, known as Perkins 5, is presented for approval for the funding period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. The grant is for $637,971.97. The Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant provides funding for program improvements, travel, and staff development for our career and technical education teachers.
Thank you. Questions, comments, members of the board? Okay, next item.
All right, number 10 is ESL, and that's on tab 4. So this is continuing some work we have done previously, professional development training stipends. So the ESL department will be offering 2 days of training on strategies and best practices for 12 high school teachers on July 27th through 28th. Teachers receive a stipend of $50 an hour for a total of 10 hours, and the stipends will be paid for Title III funds. These stipends match what we are doing for everything from curriculum leads to summer school to summer programming. It's all the same.
Very good. Questions, comments? Next item.
And number 2, purchase of Learning A to Z licenses. The ESL department is seeking approval to purchase RAS Plus and RAS Plus connected classroom licenses from Learning A to Z for our English language learners. These programs are designed to facilitate both language and literacy at all levels of proficiency. The total cost is $33,858 and will be paid for with Title III funds.
Questions, comments? Many of these items are.
Yes, so I was going to say the next large group we are about to read through are annual renewals. We put several renewals on the consent agenda, which we can always pull if we need to. Several of these we only used for 1 year, so we want to do another 1 more year before we put them on the consent agenda. But these will be the second year of bringing a lot of these fine arts ones to you. So we'll go there next.
Wonderful.
All right, so Fine Arts, tab 5, Smart Music, Music Learning and Assessment System. The Instruction Department is requesting to purchase Smart Music Platform access from Make Music for all instrumental music teachers and students enrolled in middle and high school instrumental music classes for the 22-23 school year. This purchase will be a renewal of our existing subscription and will continue to ensure access to the program for all instructional music students.
Thank you. Questions? Ms. Sharp?
Just a statement, for those who aren't aware of this software package, my son used it when he was at Stewart's Creek, and it is incredible. You hook your microphone up to your laptop or computer and put the microphone on your instrument, and that's how they see you do your homework and your practice every night. So, yeah, this is, and the teacher can log into the system and see if they did or didn't. I won't say with my son, but it's a great software package.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions? Next item.
All right, number 2, Quaver Music Elementary Music Curriculum. So the Instruction Department is requesting to purchase the Quaver Music program from Quaver Ed for all RCS elementary schools for the 22-23 school year. This is the district's currently adopted elementary music curriculum. Continued access for all schools will ensure quality curriculum alignment throughout the district.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item.
Art of Education Visual Art Resources. So Instruction Department is requesting to purchase subscriptions for the curriculum suite from the Art of Education University for all visual arts teachers for the 22-23 school year. Each subscription provides the teacher with access to customizable instructional resources aligned to the Tennessee Visual Arts Standards and content-specific PD. This purchase will be a renewal of our existing subscription.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item.
Drama Teacher Academy Theater Resources. Instruction Department's requesting to purchase the Drama Teacher Academy access for all full-time middle and high school theater teachers for the 22-23 school year. This access includes standards-aligned instructional resources and professional development for theater instructors. This purchase will be a renewal of our existing subscription.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item.
Korea Movement Dance Resources. So the Instruction Department is requesting to purchase Korea Movement subscriptions from Dance for Schools Publishing for the 4 dance teachers who will teach dance as an academic subject during the 22-23 school year. This resource will provide standards-aligned lesson planning support for a variety of dance styles as well as professional development resources.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item.
And last, Sight Reading Factory Music Reading Program. The Instruction Department is requesting to purchase Sight Reading Factory platform access for all vocal music teachers and students enrolled in middle and high school vocal music courses for the 22-23 school year. This purchase will allow for access to the standards-aligned music reading practice and assessment program for all middle and high school vocal music students and teachers.
Thank you. Questions, comments, members of the board on any of these items? Okay, federal programs.
All right, moving into federal programs, so very much a lot of repeats as well and renewals. So first, Curriculum Instruction Department would like to allocate approximately $400,000 to continue with the curriculum lead framework that began during the 1920 school year. Curriculum leads are an essential component of the RCS curriculum framework and model of continuous improvement. Each school receives an equal number of representatives based on the grade band served, and curriculum leads are funded through federal programs using Title II allocations.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Those curriculum leads, are they at every school?
They are. Every school for tested areas, and then we also have added ESL this past year. We added fine arts this past year. We will be adding special education. We're trying to recover everything because we realize as a central office that you can't provide enough support for a district our size from one central setting, so our powers and our teachers, and we need to use those Title II funds to support our teachers instead of going to conferences and those type of things.
Thank you. Very good. Any other questions? Next item?
All right, now we get into our Title I funds. So Title I, Tab 6A, Conflict Resolution and Collaboration PD for Laverne Lake Elementary. Presenter Molly Grisham from Influence LLC will lead conflict resolution and team building at Laverne Lake Elementary over 8 sessions during the 22-23 school year. The training will provide teachers with an understanding of building relationships with colleagues of different personality types and how to better collaborate with one another. Sessions will be completed in large and small groups. The total cost will not exceed $14,000. Title I funds allocated to Laverne Lake Elementary will pay 100% of the cost of this training.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item?
Imagine Language and Literacy for Laverne Lake Elementary. Imagine Language and Literacy is an online adaptive learning solution that accelerates reading and language proficiency for students in grades pre-K through 6, designed to supplement the core literacy instruction. Laverne Lake Elementary will purchase 200 licenses to serve English language learners in the 4 domains of literacy, reading, writing, and speaking. The cost will not exceed $25,000. Title I funds allocated to Laverne Lake Elementary will pay 100% of the cost of this software.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item?
iReady Reading for Laverne Lake Elementary. iReady Reading is an online platform that provides diagnostic information to individualize lessons in the domains of phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. iReady Reading will be used to supplement the RCS ELA curriculum. Laverne Lake Elementary will purchase 900 licenses to serve students in grades pre-K through 6. The cost will not exceed $15,120, and Title I funds allocated to Laverne Lake Elementary will pay 100% of the costs for this software.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item?
D, Professional Learning Communities at Work, Solutions Tree Incorporated. Joe Kadimi, an associate of Solution Tree, will provide a workshop for teachers at David Urey Elementary. Teachers who participate in the training will understand the benefits of PLCs and how to implement them into a school or district, develop and maintain a healthy collaborative culture, and answer and utilize the 4 critical questions every PLC must address. With the help of a certified associate, the staff will learn practical strategies for implementing and sustaining the PLC at Work process at David Urey Elementary. The professional development will give new and veteran teachers an understanding of successful PLC. The first day of training will take place on August 4th, 2022. The follow-up coaching date with John Kadimi will be determined for the 2nd semester. This coaching day will allow Mr. Kadimi to observe our PLC meetings and give feedback to administration to help build stronger PLCs. You see the contract details, the initial workshop of August 4th, 2022 from 8 to 3 with a follow-up coach to be determined from 7:45 to 2:45. The total cost is $13,000, which we pay with David Urey's Title I. Cost includes consultant fee, travel expenses, and a book for each participant, and this would be pending our consolidated 2023 budget approval for federal programs.
Thank you. Questions, comments, members of the board? Next item.
E, Responsibility-Centered Discipline Training. AccuTrain Corp. will provide 2 days of teacher professional development on the topic of responsibility-centered discipline to Laverne Middle School. By attending this professional development, teachers will learn how to identify and address issues that affect the academic and behavioral progress of students. Teachers will learn and implement strategies for reaching and helping students with discipline issues, and teachers will receive additional coaching and support with the 2nd-year implementation of the responsibility-centered discipline in their classroom practices. Contract details: on-site trainings August 3rd, 2022, on-site initial training for 85 educators, and then February 16th, 2023, on-site day in classrooms for observation, coaching, support, and feedback. Additional support is 1 hour phone call follow-up with the principal, and the total contract fees $15,950. Fee is all inclusive.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Mr. Young?
I have to wonder if this right here doesn't tie into some of this problem we're having with retaining our teachers. This is something we need to really deep dive into and figure out how to incorporate it throughout the whole county.
Yes, it absolutely is. When we look at pay, of course, this area, we always want to make sure we're competitive and doing the right thing for our employees. But outside of that, working conditions are 1A or 1B for making sure that we retain and recruit employees. And it goes back to just running a school, running a classroom. Classroom management and student discipline is your #1 thing. So we're looking at several avenues here. And that'll be one of our main communication structures we have to start the school year, is having that information and just communication with parents, as we really need your help in being respectful, making sure that we have those conversations with our students about the appropriate behavior, but then also making sure that parents understand what choices for consequences principals have based on our own board-adopted code of conduct. And so that'll be one of our first things that we start doing in July. Great point, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any other questions or comments? Next item.
All right, F is Care Solus. RCS is requesting a contract with Care Solus for the 22-23 school year. Care Solus is a company that lifts the heavy burden of mental health care coordination for school systems. This service is offered as a scalable and virtual solution for the Rutherford County Schools community. Care Solus will guide the transition to mental health services by coordinating care across all RCS students, family members, employees, and employee family members. This contract will not exceed $200,000 for the 22-23 school year and be paid through ESSER 3.0 funds. We're looking at this for a 1 year, and we have Mark here. Do you want to come up and give us just a couple-minute overview, if you don't mind? And while he's coming up here, we realize that's an area that we have school counselors. Our school counselors are not necessarily mental health counselors, and where we have a gap is connecting our school counselors with the mental health professionals in the community and trying to come up with that gap of how do we serve that. So,
yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan, esteemed members of the board. Thank you for your time this evening. Care Solus is a company that's been around since 2017, and in the past 5 years, we have learned some very important lessons. Number one, only 18% of all of the people who set out on the journey to seek mental health care are able to navigate on their own all of the obstacles and barriers and get connected. And so because of that, you need an ally in that area, in that arena. And your ally is us. So in addition to that stat, the reason why it's so difficult to get connected is on average, it takes between 50 and 60 phone calls to get connected and get a first-time appointment with a mental health care professional, 50 to 60. On average, it takes anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, and because of COVID, that's even been exacerbated, to get an appointment with a qualified mental health care professional. So those are some of the obstacles. Then you throw in, do you take my insurance? Do you speak my language? Do you have the specialty and capacity that I need? Most people throw up their hands in frustration and quit. And so Care Solus was born out of that need. And so what we have is a team of over 230 care companions, or caseworkers. And they go to work for you on behalf of the school families in Rutherford County. So for the cost of adding 2 or maybe 3 full-time employees, you can hire our team of over 230 care companions. They're highly trained. They have over 150 hours of intensive training, and they're overseen by a licensed clinical practitioner. And they do all of the work on behalf of the student, the family member, the faculty, or staff member. They make all the phone calls. They verify the insurance. They make sure they have the specialty. They make sure that they speak your language. And then they narrow it down and find the ones who can see them in the least amount of time. Very time-consuming work for a group of people, your school counselors, nurses, social workers that are already stretched to the max, especially during the past 2 years. Our team is able to scale and provide that capacity to meet the needs for your entire school family. I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
I just want to say I'm so glad that you're here. We had a mental health forum about 1.5 years ago. This place was filled. You couldn't find a seat. And the main problems we had were, I can't find a therapist. If I find a therapist, I'm not sure I can pay for this therapist because it's $95, $100 an hour. Or I can get a therapist, I can pay for it, but they can see me in 6 months. Yeah. And at the time, there was a lot of potential suicide. There were dark thoughts. There were kids that were cutting on themselves, and these parents were just crying out for help. So I'm glad that that you all can provide this service for us, because that's what they need. I came up in SPED at a CDC at Riverdale High School, and even those parents didn't exactly know where to go and what to do. And I appreciate you bringing this to our district. It's just desperately needed.
Absolutely. I applaud you all for being forward-thinking and for being progressive and taking action even before it explodes. What we found is that there are so many students, for every one that's identified that we do know about, how many more are walking the halls we know nothing about? over the past 2 years, COVID has taken a toll on your teachers too. We talked about those that are resigning and leaving the profession. That's happening nationwide. And so this epidemic is affecting everyone. And so what a message it would send to your students and your families to say, we hear you, we know you're struggling, we're going to be proactive and do something about it. But also to your teachers, your existing teachers, to retain them, to say, we know you have struggles and we hear you and we're putting something in place to help you. And maybe even a tool that you can use to attract new talent to the district. This is something that you can be doing and get out in front of this that some other districts haven't started doing yet.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I just have a question. So your company essentially does the triage work, and they treat those patients that no treatment?
We do
they
not
just do the
provide the
triage?
mental health care services.
Okay.
We are the connective tissue
Okay, so you-
that gets them connected.
Okay.
So we rely on Tennessee's Bank of Licensed Professional Mental Health Care Providers. We've already identified all of them across the state of Tennessee, and we've already identified all of the insurance companies. And so what our care companions do is that even if someone doesn't have insurance, as you mentioned, we will find a qualified mental health care provider who will see them either at no charge or on a sliding scale, and then our team does all the work, makes all the phone calls to narrow it down and find the ones who can see them in the least amount of time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Makes it clear.
Any other questions?
I was just saying, I think that's what made this attractive. I don't remember the first time did we meet, maybe in February or March. It's
I believe it
been
was, yeah.
a long journey to get here because we had a lot of questions as well. We
Sure.
involved a couple of principals, social workers, our school counseling team, our coordinators. So there's been a lot of work around this. Everything is confidential when it comes back to parents have to have permission before that could even begin down that journey. And so just know there's quite a few questions and stipulations that we have in place as well. Are you guys working with anybody in Tennessee yet?
We are. So we've
Okay, you
already
did connect
signed
with
on,
somebody,
yeah.
yes, okay.
Yeah, we have multiple. I've got a stack of about 70 school
Okay.
districts that are either have contracts already or in the process of coming on board in July 1 or already have.
Okay, gotcha. I knew we were one of the first at the beginning, but we
You were
took
one of the
several
first
months
to
to
get
go.
started,
Yes.
but there have been a lot others since then, yes.
Yeah.
I think this is my 5th trip to Rutherford County.
Probably.
And glad to do it. I grew up over in Dixon, live in East Tennessee now. I'm a former classroom teacher, high school English teacher, football coach, baseball coach, strength conditioning coach. My heart is in education. My wife's a retired teacher. My daughter's a teacher. So it runs in the family. And I know firsthand the struggles that you guys are facing and that your teachers are facing. So we're glad to help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you being here.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item at all, members of the board? If not, we'll move on to the next item.
All right, number 14, curriculum and instruction. So this gets into our annual renewals. But first, we have tab 7. This is the best way to say it, bringing back something we were doing several years ago. Several years ago, we were having contracted teachers, our own teachers, providing a more affordable option for students to earn credits on their own. When we went with Pearson a couple years ago, that cost is about $750 per person. And this was never meant necessarily, it's not going to make money, but it provides our kids an option to get a credit that they may not have an option to, whether they get behind or they want to get ahead. This gives them a more affordable option using our own teachers. So A, Rutherford County Schools online teaching contract. The Curriculum Instruction Department is requesting permission to implement a Rutherford County Schools online teaching contract beginning in the fall of 2022. The contract would outline an agreement between Rutherford County Schools and teachers to teach online courses outside the regular school day for additional pay beyond the teacher's normal salary. Teachers would receive a base pay for each course and an additional payment per student in the course each term, and a copy of the contract is attached.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, members of the board?
Do we know what fiscal note that will be?
I do. That's what I was going to go to. It's in tab 7, so give me just a second to get there. It's going to depend on the total number of students who actually enroll. We are looking at no more at, I believe it was, the contract in here was about $3,500 per teacher. We're looking at 10 courses that we would offer to start with, mostly your high school tested areas, foreign language, those type of things. By Thursday, I'll have the exact details for us if that works. This really goes back to, we used to have an online school here we housed through Canvas and Blackboard. It was losing money, but after the last couple of years, we have some areas that are going to lose money that are the best benefit for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Next item.
Dino Cloud for Securely, so the Curriculum Instruction Department is to request to use Securely as a sole approved vendor for their Dino Cloud service in the amount of $79,000. Dino Cloud for Securely Incorporated gives teachers monitoring and control tools with both live and historical analytics on the digital behavior of students on classroom devices. ESSER 3.0 funds will be used to purchase this service for the 22-23 school year. For teachers that have been in the district, we still had one for Land School Live, and we piloted with that as well. This is something that teachers can, with all the devices we have in the classroom now, teachers can actually see what website or platform students are using from their own device instead of walking around the room, and kids can then minimize that website they're on so that at one time, one of our controlled devices, we can see what students are doing. Nice way of putting that.
Nice. Okay. Any questions or comments? Next item.
All right, next, agreement with Handwriting Without Tears. So Handwriting Without Tears curriculum is currently used in voluntary pre-K, second grade, and third grade. RCS would like to add kindergarten and first grade to provide consistent handwriting instruction across the grades. It will include teacher digital resources and consumable student workbooks. The first year of implementation will also include professional development. Adding kindergarten and first grade handwriting instruction will offer, there's the word, continuity across the grades. There's that word I struggle with. Continuity across the grades. We're excited for this because we realize that handwriting is something that has gone by the wayside in some degrees, especially with elementary. Statewide, we have to have it in elementary, but we have several grades that we need to go ahead and hit it before it gets to second grade.
I think this is fantastic.
Any questions or comments? Next item.
All right, D, agreement with Better Lessons and Open Up Resources. RCS wishes to continue professional development with Better Lessons and Open Up Resources for 22-23 to support the continuation of best practices in ELA instruction and encompasses the science of reading. ELA teachers new to the district, ELA model schools teachers, coaches and administrators, and district ELA specialists will receive the in-depth PD. Model schools include Plainview Elementary, Browns Chapel Elementary, and John Coleman Elementary. These schools provide an opportunity for teachers and administrators across the district to observe high-quality ELA instruction. And then we take those lessons and then apply them to all, almost like a train-the-trainer type staff, if you will.
I like the train the trainer. Any questions, comments? Next item.
So E, professional development, Brian Lawler. Consultant Brian Lawler will provide 5 days of professional development for high school math teachers at Rutherford County Schools. Teachers, approximately 30, participating as PLC groups, will be paid $50 an hour to attend. Teachers will engage in a transformative week of professional development in which they learn how to build a thinking classroom that promotes the mathematical abilities of all students. Dr. Lawler will model a thinking classroom, the multiple ability strategy, and task-based instruction, which will enhance the teaching practices of all teachers in attendance. He will also provide his PowerPoints, which include the structures, videos, tasks, and documents used throughout the week so that teachers can refer back to them when needed. July 11th through 14th will be for Year 1 teachers, while July 14th and 15th will be for our Year 2 teachers that attended this training last year. Contract details below. Training for Year 1 teachers, July 11th through 14th, 2022 from 8 to 3. Training for Year 2 teachers, July 14th, 15th, 2022 through 8 to 3. Brian Lawler contracted fees, $7,000. Teacher pay is $30,000. Supplies $500 for a total of $37,500.
Did we offer this last year?
We did.
And can I ask, because sometimes I'm just reticent to reinvent the wheel, and we have done that with a lot of courses.
have.
I talked to a friend of mine, he sat at the lunch table and he taught math, and I said, how is our math score since we went from Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry to integrated math? And he goes, worse. He just said they're flat out worse. So is this something that it did really help?
This can be transferable. This doesn't necessarily cover a content standard. It covers a teaching strategy of basically getting kids involved in their own learning. So if you take a whiteboard, for example, you get kids thinking about math and actually trying to be involved in liking math instead of just rote memorization. I mean, we will actually, at the July board meeting, so we are in the middle of looking at the Algebra 1 versus Algebra 2 geometry versus integrated 1, 2, and 3 possibility to change. And so during the director's update, I guess I can go over a little bit of that to not get too far ahead. Yep.
I want to do it, and I want to pay for it, especially if the feedback is that
It is.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Next item.
All right, F is student laptop protection plan. So the instruction department is requesting to provide an optional student laptop protection plan. Enrollment in this protection plan will alleviate the potential cost of repair and/or replacement costs that could result from accidental damage to an assigned student device. The cost of the plan will be $20 per year, and an outline of the protection plan is attached. This is something as we went one-to-one. I think all of us would have liked to have done a rollout differently with one-to-one, but with COVID and needing to get devices as quick as we can, at some point they almost became the enemy instead of what we needed them to do to be a tool for us. And so in rolling that out in high school, we also realized that some students didn't take a device because they were worried, or their parents were worried, understandably so, about the potential cost of replacing a $200 or $250 device. And so it was meant to provide equity to give access to everybody, actually removed equity because we had some kids and parents who could not take or did not want to take the device because of the financial burden. And so what this does is for $20 a year, that allows us to, almost like an insurance plan a parent can pay, and then we would repair for damages. That money will all go through our hardware department here and be able to get those devices where they need to and fixed.
This is an optional plan for parents.
Absolutely, it's an option. Yep.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay, next item.
Next is Delta Math. So Delta Math is a supplemental online math program that helps support procedural skill and fluency in high school math. This program offers math problems based on algorithms so that each student has different problems. Teachers can assign work to students that align with the curriculum guide to help them practice the material learned in class. The contract details Delta Math Plus for the 22-23 school year. Total contract is $14,270. And this is a continuation and something that our teachers use. Yes, our teachers utilize this a lot. You used to have old workbooks that may be sitting around forever and ever in the back of rooms, and this is a much better and much more cost-effective way of going through that.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Next item.
Continuing on with math, National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics, NCSM. The National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics, NCSM, is a mathematics leadership organization for educational leaders that provides professional learning opportunities necessary to support and sustain improved student achievement in mathematics. NCSM conference will be held September 26th to 28th, 2022 in Anaheim, California. The NCSM conference is a great opportunity for RCS math specialists to hear from the leading experts in math education to learn how to better support teachers, imagine a future of powerful mathematics education, inspire colleagues through bold leadership, and influence educators through coaching and impact systems for equity. Contract details, you'll see the NCSM. The total amount is $2,000. And this should be something we could put on the consent agenda in the future and looking at it.
Thank you. The total cost of $2,000, that's for
For one person to go, yep,
one person.
yep. It's for the high school math specialist. So really, this shouldn't have even come before the board, so we'll get that fixed.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Next item.
Next is technology lead stipend. We did this from January until currently. So we realized that we created another monster with one-to-one devices and putting them on instructional coaches and media specialists, and we realized there was an additional need. And so this need was our technology lead stipend. Instruction department's requesting to provide a $2,000 stipend for the 22-23 school year to a certified teacher at each school. This supplement will help support extra duties that are needed due to the increase in instructional technology and hardware support level. The total cost of the technology lead stipend for the 22-23 school year is $100,000 to be funded through general purpose funds, and the responsibilities of tech lead are attached. We have met with our tech leads, instructional coaches, media specialists, and administrators. We met with media specialists, administrators, and instructional coaches together to outline all these duties so that we could try to problem solve through these. In a perfect world, we would like to have probably an individual at our high schools because they are so large that can handle some of these administrative tasks around technology. However, the possibility of removing yet another certified person from the classroom doesn't seem like a viable option where we are right now.
Thank you. Questions, comments, members of the board? Okay, next item.
All right, J, Schoology. So the instruction department is requesting to renew Schoology, a district-wide learning management system for all students and teachers K-12, as well as the digital classroom space for the RCS virtual school. Schoology provides teachers a platform to provide digital service or digital lessons where students can have access to curriculum resources from anywhere at any time. The group feature in Schoology provides a repository for district and PLC resources to be curated and shared. Parents can be invited to join the Schoology community to view their child's work and to participate in the virtual Schoology parent groups. The total cost of the Schoology renewal for the 22-23 school year is $248,310 to be funded to the general purpose funds. And for those of you that missed Blackman High School's graduation, Schoology replaced Kidham, which I could not believe actually got a shout out for one of the worst things that we've done in education in Rutherford County for the last 3 years. Sorry for that. But you live and learn and you make improvements after something doesn't work. So
Very good.
I had no idea that was going to be a part of a graduation speech, but there it was.
They're going to tell you what they think.
They did.
Any questions or comments, members of the board? Okay, next item.
So legal tab 8, disciplinary hearing appeal. The board has requested a review a decision of the disciplinary hearing authority to uphold the remandment of a student from Christiana Middle School based on a review of the DHA's record. The board may A, affirm the decision of the DHA, B, overturn the decision of the DHA, or C, grant a hearing before the board. And I believe you guys have that file in front of us.
Yes, members of the board, you have a folder in front of you. If you have any questions, as always, please contact Ms. Ridley. She'd be happy to help answer any questions you might have on this item. Next item.
All right, 2 is policy adoption, the first and final reading. So the below policies are recommended on the first and final reading due to the urgency in filling positions in the district. Policy 5.1151, telework during emergencies, adds language that allows the director of schools and assistant superintendents to approve the request for telework. And you see you have 2 options there as well.
Yes, thank you.
Then we get to 3, policy adoption on the first reading of 2 readings. And the below policies are recommended on the first reading. These policies will be brought to the next scheduled board meeting for a second and final reading. A, policy 1.104, memberships. Strikes language to remove membership from the Southern Regional School Boards Association and the National School Boards Association and replaces with language that the district will be an affiliate member of any national associations of which TSBA is a member. You may read through all these and take questions at the end.
Yes, please.
B, policy 1.105, school board legislative involvement, strikes language to remove membership from NSBA. Policy 1.204, board member development opportunities, strikes language to remove NSBA and replaces with language that district will be a member of other national school board associations through TSBA. Policy 1.407, school district records, updates name and contact information for current staff attorney. Policy 2.200, annual operating budget, adds language to comply with Tennessee Code Annotated 49-3-316A2. Policy 2.802, payroll procedures, adds language for exceptions to no advance payments of salary to reflect current district practice. G, policy 2.805, purchasing, adds clarification to purchasing and bids. H, policy 3.4031, car accidents on school properties, and this is new, adds policy to clarify process when a car accident occurs on school property. I, policy 5.802, qualifications and duties of director of schools, adds language to the state that doctorate degree is preferred. J, policy 6.202, homeschool, adds clarity for participation of homeschool students' participation in fine arts programs. And then K, policy 6.405, medicines, adds language to allow parent or guardian or the parent's adult designee to deliver a student's medication to the principal.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, members of the board, on any of these policies? Okay. Financial matters.
All right, financial matters, tab 9. So 1, budget amendment for fiscal year 21-22, Education Capital Projects Fund. These are final year-end cleanup amendments for Fund 177. Mr. Beaudry, anything you want to add to those?
Just that we have a purchase order cutoff for the end of the year. That'll be this Wednesday, and after that, I'll have the final cleanup amendments before this board for Thursday night.
Thank you. Any questions, financial questions on that item? Okay, next item.
2 is very similar, so budget amendments for 21-22, the General Purpose Schools Fund, final year-end cleanup amendments for Fund 141, and Mr. Beaudry will have these again on Thursday, correct?
Any questions, comments? Moving on.
3, same thing, budget amendments for fiscal year 21-22 Centralized Cafeteria Fund, the final year-end cleanup amendments for Fund 143.
Okay, questions, comments? Ms. Sharp?
Just a question, and it's maybe something they've already thought of, but when since we have sort of the open seat rule now, and we're asking our parents to enroll for the next school year earlier and earlier, is that something with that we're trying to do with the lunch program to kind of put that in there with it at the same time so they can just fill all that out?
With our enrollment process, it is, yep.
Okay, thank you.
And we're actually putting the online portion for them for technology, all that type of thing, forcing a decision on those.
Great, thank you.
Good idea. Thank you.
Great idea.
Any other questions or comments? Next item.
4, resolution of the Rutherford County Board of Education to increase the threshold for competitive sealed bids. Mr. Boder, you want to hit on that at all?
This is in response to recently passed legislation at the state legislature that amended TCA 12-3-1212, allow the threshold for competitive sealed bids to go from 25,000 to 50,000 in local governments that have a full-time purchasing agent and a centralized purchasing authority, which Rutherford County Schools has. In order to authorize this, it has to have the local board's action. So that will be the resolution before you on Thursday night. That will allow bids, anything under the 50,000 that they would not have to take a competitive seal bid. Keep in mind that we have almost a half $500 million in expenditures for next fiscal year's budget. So this would significantly cut down on some of the cost of competitive seal bids. Obviously, anything over 15,000, we still get 3 quotes for that.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, members of the board? Okay, next item.
All right, number 5, I want to thank Mr. Boder for working on me with this. So this was something in making sure that we are respecting our employees and also making sure that we are helping morale and improvement. So Rutherford County Schools several years ago went away from being closed the 4th of July week, I guess. That was our shutdown that we had. And so all central office staff received a full 8-hour paid vacation for 4th of July. When we moved to a 4-day work week, however, staff then received 8 hours of paid leave, but they would have 2 hours that they would have to go back and take on their own because technically we were not here for that whole time. And so this motion to set a 10-hour workday for the 4th of July Independence Day holiday pay purposes for all 12-month RCS employees, currently on a 4-day work week during the summer months. During the summertime and after the school year is finished, numerous 12-month RCS employees shift to a 10-hour-a-day, 4-day work week. Currently, the employees are having to use 2 hours of vacation time along with 8 hours of holiday pay to have the entire day off for recognition of Independence Day.
Thank you for working on that.
So thank you, Mr. Boder. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bodery. Any questions, comments, members of the board?
Could I just ask, do y'all like being off on Friday?
As they all.
Some of you do and
I'd
some
say-
of you don't.
I'd say it's about 60-40, because I feel like, I have, just, we all do. I have a ton of papers that I sign. We have probably about 40% of our staff members take 2 hours a day off, and they work 4 8s, and they take a day off a week. And then 60%, myself included, likes the 4 10s.
We did.
Because I get 10
And then
hours.
some
I get 10
people,
hours off.
I mean,
I'm only
some
working
people
14
have to
instead of
work
5.
because you got learning loss camps and whatever else going on.
That-
So it's kind of a,
That's for 2 weeks or 3, and then that's over, and then they go back. We assigned some money in the transportation department for the, and that's something that was new for us too. We have to have dispatchers. So we have some of the ladies wanted to work 5 8s, and some of the ladies didn't. So the ones that don't, we have overtime budgeted through the state. It's not much, $5,500 covers their time, but the ones that wanted to work 4 10s and for a couple of weeks have to work on Fridays, they get paid overtime, where normally it would be comp time. So they did.
so it's kind of
Yeah.
individualized in a way,
We've allowed it.
Yeah.
It's kind of allowed.
which is what you should do.
Yes.
Yeah,
In the past, you remember.
I do
We didn't have a
remember.
choice.
You took off. Too
Well-
bad if you didn't want to,
We didn't, but
but we did.
I know.
Yeah,
And I
we didn't
think
get a
that's what
choice.
started it, to be honest. Some of it, the maintenance department, because we couldn't and we had projects going, they allowed us to work.
Yeah, I remember
And then
that.
it kind of trickled in. Then the technology boys wanted to work, and then the cable crew guys wanted to work, and then it kind of went away.
And we'll
Yeah.
ask our central office staff as well as we get into next year, because that usually goes out in January, what we're
Yes.
doing for planning purposes.
I mean, it doesn't matter to us, but I just want y'all to be able to kind of do what you want to do for that.
Well,
And
they send it out.
We did.
Yeah.
And it used to be, you were right, you had to pretty
You
much
did
everybody
not
take
get a
off.
choice, did you?
It is a lot more flexible now, so that the
Good.
ones that want to
Good.
work, we allow them to take the 2 hours a day.
Good.
I've got 4 different shifts, people working 4 different time frames in the summer, and as long as I know when they're working,
Right.
and they get their job done, I don't mean to be flippant, as long as they get their job done and they're here when they're supposed to be.
You're
it
not
don't
being
matter to me which
flippant.
one
You
they
know
work.
where people are. I was just going back to the olden days and where you took that week of vacation, whether you wanted to or not. So it's a little more flexible now, and that's what I like to see.
Part of that is with the summer programming. We may have K-8, but then we have 9-12 going in July. So as an instruction department, we have to have somebody from each department and with transportation available every Friday to answer questions and those type of things.
That's good, and I do like giving you back this time. You deserve it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, members of the board? Okay, there are none. Next item.
All right, number 6 is going to be on Thursday night, the presentation on the State of Tennessee 401K and 457B plans by Tennessee Department of the Treasury retiree staff with comparison to current 403B and 457B ballot plan offerings. Thursday, right, Doug, virtual? Is that going to be virtual? Yep, that'll be a virtual presentation to us.
Thank you. Mr. Bodary, will you be giving us some background information on this as well?
Yes, what we'll have on Thursday is the representatives from the state treasury. They'll be here to present and just give an overview of the state 401K and 457 plans. At that point, we'll discuss some background of what we'd like to see, the board consider going forward with defined contribution retirement plans, not defined benefit. We're not talking anything about TCRS, so I just don't.
Understood.
For these, it's just the voluntary defined contribution plans.
Understood. Thank you. Any questions, comments, members of the board? Okay.
All right, number 7 is some good news. So a contract agreement between Rutherford County Board of Education and Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, TOA, Ascension St. Thomas Rutherford, AST, and Results Physiotherapy, Results PT. So Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, TOA, Ascension St. Thomas, Rutherford AST, and Results Physiotherapy, Results PT seeks to partner with Rutherford County Board of Education, RCBOE, to provide a physician coverage at all home high school football games and jamborees and all home playoff games. TOA AST Results PT shall pay the Rutherford County Board of Education $650,000 per year of the contract. In exchange, the TOA AST and Results PT will receive preferential opportunities for advertisement, including placement in marketing materials, display of signage at games and athletic locker rooms, and 3 in-game announcements. TOA has also agreed to providing standing physician orders for RCS athletic trainers. The healthcare partners will provide a free annual wellness exam event offering sports physicals to Rutherford County athletes. This contract has a term of 3 years, beginning with the fiscal years 22-23, with the option to allow an automatic renewal for an additional 1-year period. With these funds, RCS plans to add additional athletic trainers to provide enhanced coverage to our high and our middle schools and to purchase athletic training and safety equipment. So this is an expansion of this partnership to include more things in high school and to include the middle level as well.
This is great. Thank you. Any questions or comments, members of the board? Okay. Facilities?
Facilities, tab 10, so it's the 5-year building program. So on Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, at the Health and Education Committee, engineering staff was requested to provide revised budgets for Smyrna, Riverdale, and Oakland High projects based on the latest schematics. Schematics were presented to the board at our last meeting. These schematics included the request from the school staff as well as the board's comments. A revised 5-year building program schedule is presented tonight for review, comment, and a motion to carry forward the revised budgets to the next Health and Education meeting. Mr. Lee?
We started this process back in October. We were basing things on around 100,000 square feet, a little less additions, and we were using current construction numbers for our estimates. At that time, if you'll remember, back in August and September, we had just bid 3 of our own projects: Rockville Elementary, Rockville Middle, and Smyrna Middle Elementary. Rockville Elementary came in at $251 a square foot. Rockville Middle came in at $230. School projects that bid prior to January the 1st last year came in anywhere from $250 to $280 a square foot. So we used $250 a square foot for our budgets for these projects. Same thing we do every year. We look at all the school systems around us and see what their school's square footage is. We work together, we all share information because we're all putting together budgets. And I also reach out to all of the contractors that usually bid and some other industry individuals that kind of keep things abreast just to make sure what we're doing is correct. So when we went back out, when we looked at these, our square footages have gone up some, not drastically, and we've got some renovations, so we looked at things differently. I reached back out to all these same individuals, and I about fell out of my chair. $315 to $340 a square foot is what schools that bid in July and August this year are projecting to bid. We've already had 4 bid in April, and they're in that same range. So it was recommended that we use $315 a square foot at this time to budget. So our projects, Riverdale, Smyrna, and Oakland, you got a revised there. Total cost for Riverdale estimated to be $47,325,000. Smyrna High, $41,550,000. Oakland High, $47,142,000. The second page you have there is what you saw back earlier. So you see where the change in the numbers is. We will always put these out for bid as soon as we can get it architecturally complete. And should the numbers come in lower, that's what we fund. But based on the current market, way things are going, this is where we feel like the budgets need to be on the 20% increase in the current construction market. So,
Based on this, what would a ground-up new high school cost? Because we thought that would be around a little over $100 million.
it'd be about 130 to 140.
So, question, I don't see Laverne anywhere on here in any of this.
I don't know.
It is, should be on the second year. Somehow it got dropped. But that's where it's at. It'd be in the second year. I can amend that and bring it back Thursday night. That's where it should be, though, in year 2. With Blackman.
So just so you'll know, I've got numbers from Mayor Cole. It's now 11,000 permits that have been pulled. So that's 11,300 or 11,400 students that are coming to the north end.
Any questions, comments on this item? So the ask for us on Thursday is approval.
Approve it like we've done in the past, and then we'll carry it to Health and Ed.
If you'll just add Laverne back.
Yes, ma'am, I will, and I'll bring you a revised sheet for
We
Thursday
need
night.
those numbers.
Ma'am?
Numbers for.
Yes, ma'am.
And have you, so you've already met with all the principals, the schools?
We're still in that process. I just got revised, well, not revised, we just got our first look at some of the renovated areas with the auditorium. I met with Tyra and her group on CTE today. I've got a meeting day after tomorrow with Ms. Halford, Fine Arts, to go to look at their areas. So there's ongoing things that are moving. We sent to them today the new guidance area, a proposed layout to get that comments back from them. CTE area, Tyra, and then that's what we met about today was that area and those programs. We've still got a meeting to look at Smyrna. So it's a process. There's something going on every week.
Understood. I appreciate you working on it.
And Trey and I are meeting tomorrow as well to discuss this because my past role didn't have a whole lot of conversation around these areas, so it's something that I've got to get brought up to speed on as well. And just have our expectations clear between the two of us as well.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments, members of the board, on this? I do want to say, I'm glad that we're doing the additions. I'm not surprised to see the increase in cost, but I don't like it at all, as nobody does. But, you know, in thinking about this, and I had a conversation earlier, Ms. Maxwell was instrumental in bringing these additions. And when she advocated for Riverdale and Oakland, I was not on board, and I was pretty upfront with her about that. But she was a fierce advocate, and I think there's a lot of, I appreciate her hard work on this because I didn't see it, she did. She pushed, and here we are. So, Ms. Maxwell, for your efforts in that, I do appreciate you helping us see what needed to be done. You are certainly responsible for this, largely. Any other questions or comments on this item? Next item.
All right, Laverne Middle School Community Garden. Dr. Holman has submitted a request to build a raised bed community garden approximately 18 by 30 feet. This garden will be a community outreach and educational opportunity for students. The cost for this project is estimated to be $3,000 to be funded by a grant from United Way. Engineering and Construction has reviewed this request and approves.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Any questions, comments, members of the board? Next item.
Next is application for campus construction for the Holloway Backyard Greenhouse, and that is just for information only. And then we move into our construction project updates.
Yeah, and basically, I'm just kind of bringing everybody up to speed at this time of the year. It's kind of a crazy time. Rockville Middle School, masonry work in all areas is complete. Electrical rough ends ongoing. Ductwork, block fill, roof trusses are set in 3 areas. Areas A and B now have roof insulation, ice and water shield on. C and D are awaiting deck, LVT flooring in the existing building. And that's one of the things we started looking at a few years ago is we do add alternates where we pick up paint, new flooring, those kind of things in our existing buildings. We did it, I think y'all saw it first at Rock Springs, and then we've done it at Laverne Middle. We get those hallways brightened back up so that it just doesn't look, you don't leave the old part alone. The good thing about it is we're going back with LVT, which also reduces our long-term maintenance cost. So there's things like that we're doing. Contractors still striving to get us at least 3 of the 5 wings at Rockville Mill completed by August. I'm not real confident at this time. I think there'll be a few weeks after that, which is fine. We'll leave the portables, and as soon as the classrooms are ready, we can move in a few at a time. Things are roofing materials are hard to come by. We placed our orders back in October. We changed one roof assembly system twice, and we're just getting the products in this week. Jones Glass, which has been around Murfreesboro forever, they do a lot of our work. Very reputable, been here forever. Rockville Elementary, we have the roof on, the bricks finished, and they're painting, but we don't have any windows. We hope to have the metal. They've had the metal on order for about 8 weeks now. They're hoping they get it this week. And once they get that in, then we got to measure for the glass and order the glass. That's about 3 weeks. So it's going to be touch and go at the elementary as far as whether it's there in August. But as soon as we open them, we moved John Coleman with maintenance in 2 days. And moved them in, so we'll do the same thing at the elementary. We'll move the stuff and get them in. We're making plans for the furniture now. Smyrna Middle Annex, permanent power's turned on, mechanical, electrical work, plumbing work is finished. Finishes will complete this week. Final cleaning and waxing in phase 1 should be completed toward the end of this week. Phase 2, work is ongoing. Demo and abatement, asbestos abatement is supposed to be completed this week. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing are working to continue starting. Phase 2 scheduled to complete in July, which means that project will be complete in time for school to start. Rockville Elementary, masonry contractors completed the block and the brick. Currently cleaning the brick. The roof contractor has approximately 50% of the roof on. Depending on the weather, they should be complete by the end of this week. They'll be working shorter hours due to the heat because of the glue reactivity with the EPDM. The plumbing contractors completing the rough end upstairs. HVAC contractors installing ductwork on the 2nd floor and copper piping and refrigeration lines. Electricians are currently roughing in the electrical lines and pulling wire, completed circuits downstairs. As mentioned before, we hope to have the metal for the windows in the next 2 weeks. All bleacher replacements for this year are complete. Playground renovations are also complete. Buchanan sewer pump and tight line installation is complete. Blackman High School auditorium seating replacement is in progress. Buchanan Elementary School parking lot is complete. Central Magnet front parking lot is in progress. Oakland High paving, the preparations underway. All those projects are scheduled to be complete before July 1. Portable and roofing, Riverdale, the portables have all been moved and set. We're working with the city. We have our permits at Blackman. We're looking at getting the permits for Oakland to relocate those. Riverdale's portables are all back set. They started on building the new decks this week. Stewart's Creek Elementary portable, the new single is being set this week. The new car rider awning is underway. Laverne Middle storm damage roof replacement from the storm is supposed to start this week. Smyrna PD Center roof replacements with all the ongoing activities there. We're getting about 1 day a week. We decided last week they're going to work Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to pay them a little bit of per diem because I don't typically like to work crews on Sundays. But to get that project finished, we're going to work the next 3 weekends on Saturdays and Sundays and try and get it knocked out. And that completes our update.
Thank you. Lots going on. Appreciate all your hard work and your team. Any questions or comments, members of the board? Okay. Thank you for the update. Insurance update.
Our insurance update, I know we have our full-time staff starting next week. Is that correct, or is it this week?
We have our lead starting on the 21st, and our 3 other insurance people starting on the 6th, and we're being trained July 11th on the Edison software to move forward for the fall.
And know that if it becomes evident that we are going to need extra support in transitioning everyone over to the state plan, because that is what this board supported, and that's also what our teachers and staff overwhelmingly, I think it was 93 or 94% supported. If it becomes evident that we need to hire new temporary staff to move us through, that is something that we'll bring before the board to do. That's not what we have to do for our employees.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So.
Thank you. Glad we could find some good candidates. Appreciate your work on that. Next item, director's update.
So I guess, one, thank you guys for allowing me to fill in this awkward time that we're in until July 1st. So hope the trial run went all right. So here, a couple things I wanted to go over. Ms. Sharp mentioned in our last board meeting, Stop the Bleed. So we have already met with our staff and have gone through whether we were purchasing tourniquets and whether it was cheaper to actually buy the kit or go their own. So we're moving forward with that. Our summer camp started 2 weeks ago, so thank you to all our teachers, staff, transportation, pretty much everybody that is involved in that, from summer programming and credit recovery at our high schools. It is a truly district-wide initiative that we pull off, as I've mentioned several times. We operate enough students in the summer. It's more than double the size of the average district during the regular school year, so truly appreciate all of that. We're in the middle of I'm having individual meetings with principals to sign contracts to get feedback on things to improve. We sent a ridiculously long Microsoft form survey of 30 questions to get feedback on just about every area and aspect that we needed to get input on strengths, weaknesses, anything else they want us to know. Principals will have that to us by tomorrow. And I'll just bring some trends and overall things to address to you in July. Here are the things that were noted. Having individual meetings with each one of you. Still in the middle of going through, about halfway done with those, just to see how I can help support your areas and what we can do as a district moving forward. Also wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Maxwell as well for Camp Discovery. We went out to Laverne High School last week, so that was an amazing experience to kind of see, and I think we have a second one in July.
July 18th to the 22nd at Oakland.
So awesome, thank you for doing
We
that.
have almost twice this number going to the Oakland camp. We had 11 that showed, 13 that signed up, but 11 actually made it to Laverne. It was perfect, it was great, and then we've got 20. I had to cut it off.
We were doing paleontology the day I was there, I believe, if that was right. Fossils and all.
Yeah,
It was fun.
they loved it.
It was great. It was great. Last couple things, of course, I mentioned the math portion, so we're in a transition period with math. So we have a new standards that begin in 23-24, so one more school year. Along with the adoption of new standards also goes new textbook adoption, which is a good time for us to look at, do we want to stay with the integrated 1, 2, 3 approach that we've used for the last 7, 8 years, or do we want to go back to the Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry? We've asked for principal feedback. We've had several meetings around that. We paused it for about 4 months because we wanted our teachers and our staff focused on what was happening right now, but it's to that point now where we want to bring that kind of resolution to you all of what we are looking at. We are one of only about 14 or 15 districts that are doing the integrated approach out of 146 in the state. And so I don't want to tip the hand on where I feel like we will go, but I think it's any conversation you have with anybody will tell you kind of what we are leaning towards. We are also losing teachers to other districts that are teaching the Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry. So these are all things we have to take into account in looking at this decision. But again, that would not go into place till 23, 24. That would take about a year or about 3 years to transition because you wouldn't just drop kids off who are in the middle of integrated. It takes several years to transition out. And we did our principal announcements. That'll be something we continue to do. I feel like it's important that we let our faculties know first. And so we let our faculties know about 2 days beforehand for principal announcements before we release that to the public. So it wasn't a big secret, but we felt like our school principals and faculties deserved to know who their leader was going to be, not at the exact same time that it was released in the press. So again, thank you guys. We're learning a lot and moving forward. I'm excited for it.
We appreciate you. Thank you for helping with the meeting today. Ms. Maxwell, Tennessee Legislative Network. Anything this evening?
Yes, I'm going to discuss on Thursday. I've got a little bit on vouchers.
Okay.
Got approved. I'm going to talk about that.
And how about federal?
I'll have something for that as well.
Wonderful. Appreciate it. General discussion. Any general discussion this evening, members of the board?
This is just a side. I know that most of you know that I'm a proud graduate of Murfreesboro Central High School that no longer exists. It's now Central Magnet School. But I was the next to the last graduating class in 1971, the last graduating class being 1972. And we just had our 50th reunion. I know I don't look that old. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that our class collected enough money to honor Jerry Anderson. Do you remember the story of Jerry Anderson? Tim's nodding. Who was one of our classmates that played, actually, he played pro ball. Or it's time to go.
Our department's on.
Yeah, he played pro ball, but he saved the lives of 2 young boys who fell into the creek beside Riverdale.
I remember it.
He drowned, but he did save the lives of two young boys. We are giving 2 $2,500 scholarships to one of our seniors from one of our high schools. We're working with our guidance counselors to pick a worthy senior for that. We are also giving a $2,500 scholarship to a worthy senior at Holloway High School because actually my freshman year was the year that we integrated. So in 1968, we became one with Holloway High School, and Central and Holloway became a wonderful, wonderful integrated school, and we had a classmate that was carrying some men on an oil rig back and forth during a hurricane, and he went out for the last time, and he radioed in and said, "I've picked up the last 12 men," and they went down. So the 2 men who saved lives have scholarships honoring them, and they're going to some of our seniors. I just thought it was a neat thing for y'all to know that we're going to be doing that in January.
That's incredible. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Francis. That's mighty nice of you. Well, it's just a nice thing to do, you know. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other items this evening?
Speaking of Central, so Nashville Business Journal, of course, announced them as the #1 high school in the state, and then McFadden was actually the #1 elementary school, and Thurman Francis #5. We had several other high schools in the top 25 as well, and I was trying to pull it up, and I'm blocked, so I can't
And you
pull it
can't
up.
find it. That's
So,
okay.
blocked on the website right now, but apparently y'all need to tell me something. That's okay.
Sorry to
We'll
hear
talk about it
that.
later.
It's unfortunate. We're trying, maybe you can get that to us on Thursday. Any other questions items for general discussion? There are none. Thank you, staff, for being here. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan, for standing in. We look forward to working with you. And if there is no further business, we are adjourned.